All right, Shalom. First off, I want to start off by saying all praises, honor, and glory is due to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Rakah Kadash. That's all praises to the world calls God, whose true name in the Hebrew is Yahweh, by Hashem meaning in the name, and Yahushai being the name of the only begotten Son. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the hopeful egg preaching his word and truth and sincerity. On the brother Tazabah, the Great Millstone Arizona camp. Lord will with another video to edify. And I wanted to go on in this lesson, right? This article here says significant number of Christians reject basic teachings about sin according to the new survey, right? And when I read this scripture, there was one that popped up in my mind automatically, and that's what we're gonna title this whole lesson around, which is 1 Corinthians, the first chapter. And the 27th verse, starting 26, it says, "For ye see your calling, brethren, how that not many wise men after the flesh, not many mighty, not many noble are called." Right? Because the scriptures tell you, it says, Romans 6:19, it says, "I speak after the manner of men, because of the infirmity of your flesh. For as ye have yielded your members servants to uncleanness, and to commit into iniquity unto iniquity, even so yield your members servants to righteousness unto holiness. And how did you yield yourself members unto iniquity? By sin." Right? But those people that in this world are considered wise in their own sight, they don't see any type of sin that they're doing. So it says, 1 Corinthians 1:26, it says, "For ye see your calling, brethren, how that not many wise men after the flesh, not many mighty, not many noble are called. But the Most High had chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise, and chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty." Is that the one I wanted? Oh, verse 21. Salahi, let me jump up. Verse 21, this is it. It says, start at 19. It says, For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and I will bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent. Where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this world? Had not the Most High made foolish the wisdom of this world? For after that, in the wisdom of the Most High, the world by wisdom knew not the Most High. It pleased the Heavenly Father by the foolishness of preaching to save them that believed." Right? So these people believe they're so wise that they're not grafting on to just biblical definitions of what sin is. Now, when you read the article, it really doesn't touch on that. It really touches on the point that these people think that they're not sinning at all. Right? Now it says, a significant number of Christians reject basic teachings about sin, according to a new survey, which one prominent evangelical researcher views as a body blow, stemming from American church's failure to address the topic. And it's not just American church's failure, it's all the church's failure. None of them teach people the righteousness of the Lord, because their wisdom is the wisdom of the world. And that is foolishness with the Most High. Because for you to understand what sin is, you got to go into the scriptures. We know that in, Timothy? This is 1 John 3 and 4, Salakia. It says, "Whosoever committed sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law." So when you get into the scriptures, you understand that there's a lot of things that you go off on daily just because of how this devil society is set up. Things that you feel are normal, right? When you're in the world, you come to find out a lot of that stuff that was so-called normal in the world was wickedness, all out, straight up wickedness. It says the Cultural Research Center at Arizona Christian University released the 8th installment of its 2025 American Worldwide Inventory on Thursday, which features data based on responses collected from 2,000 United States adults in May 2025. All right, so this is this year. It says an overwhelming majority of respondents, 84%, agreed that sin exists and it's real, right? Majority of all major religious subgroups examined subscribe to this belief. So they agree that sin's real, but they act like it's something that they don't do. It says acknowledgement of sin exists is highest among theologically identified born-again Christians, 99%, followed by those who attend a Protestant church, 97%, self-identified Christians, 95%, and respondents who attend a Catholic church, 94%. Even most self-identified non-Christians, 61%, acknowledge the existence of sin. However, respondents were significantly less likely to agree with a statement declaring, I am a sinner, right? And truly, that is a loaded thing, because we read it before, whom you yield yourself members, whom you yield your members unto, you're a servant to. This is Romans 6:18. It says, being then made free from sin, ye became the servants of righteousness, right? Because what? At one point, sin had dominion. When you go to the 14th or the 12th verse, it says, let not sin therefore reign in your mortal body, that ye should obey it in the lust thereof. Neither yield your members as instruments of unrighteousness unto sin. Right? But without you knowing what sin is, you would do those things easily, because this world preaches that. Now, to say everybody is a sinner, like, I'm not going to say I'm a sinner, because I'm not willfully doing these things. The scriptures talk about willful sin. Hebrews 10:26, it says, for if we sin willfully, right? That's what I would call a sinner. Somebody that sins willfully after knowing, what's right and wrong, and you just willfully just go out and do it repetitively, saying, fuck what you heard, all that stuff. That's what I would call a sinner. And really, at the end of the day, all these people in these Christian churches are sinners, because if you bring up that you're not supposed to eat pork, they'll find any reason to sit here and determine that it's okay for them to eat pork. Well, we know that the scriptures say you're supposed to walk even as Yahushua did. All right, so did Yahushua eat pork? No, he didn't. Because what? He kept the entirety of the law. That's what made him a sheep without blemish. He didn't have a spot on him. He was righteously just pure. But you tell a Christian the same thing, they're gonna make some excuse and they're gonna keep doing it. And that goes for a multitude of things that are against the scriptures. So it says, Hebrews 10:26, for if we sin willfully after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sins. Right? So this is what happens in the Christian churches quite a bit. Now I'm gonna go back to Romans 6:13. Neither yield your members as instruments of unrighteousness unto sin, but yield yourselves unto the Most High, as those that are alive from the dead, and your members as instruments of righteousness of the Most High, unto the Most High. For sin shall not have dominion over you, right? For ye are not under the law, but under grace. And that doesn't mean that grace doesn't mean that you can do whatever you want. Grace is a time period for you to perfect your righteousness in observing everything that the Lord told us to do, right? First and foremost, the scriptures tell you the law was our schoolmaster, bringing us unto Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus. His true name is Yahushua, right? So without you having a law to shape you up, because we understand that the scriptures say what, right? Wisdom cannot enter into a malicious soul. It also says that, let me get the subject. This is a Wisdom of Solomon 1 and 4. It says, for into a malicious soul wisdom shall not enter, nor dwell in the body subject to sin. So you can't just keep doing these things thinking that you're going to get close to the Lord. You got to clean yourself up first. And it starts by a very intentional operations of believing and doing, because the scriptures say what? That faith without works is dead. So you can say you have faith all day, but until you start doing those things that show that you really believe, take Kobe Bryant. He thought he could be the best in the world. If he never was in the gym shooting all them hours, practicing dribbling drills, doing all those reps of the same thing over and over again, what would his belief amount to? Nothing. But when he put the work behind it, then it meant something. Same thing with the truth, right? So verse 14 again, Romans 6 and 14, it says, for sin shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law, but under grace. What then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law, but under grace? God forbid. You see? Christians don't understand that, though. Now I'm going to go back to this. It says, a majority of theologically identified born-again Christians, 74%, conceded that they were sinners, along with smaller majorities of Protestants, 66%, self-identified Christians, 60%. About half of the Catholics said they were sinners, while less than half self-identified non-Christians, 36 did. It says, when asked if they agreed that everyone has sinned, 85% of the theologically identified born-again Christians answered in the affirmative, along with 73% of Protestants, 66% of self-identified Christians, and 57% of Catholics. Less than a quarter of self-identified non-Christians maintained, the 23% maintained that everyone has sinned. You see? I wonder if there's more on this. No, I ain't doing them cookies. Let me do this. No. I don't want that shit. No. Let's just scroll down in it, man. I don't want to have them cookies on my shit. Let's see if there's a little more on this. The full article. Oh, here, look at it. It is more. It says George Barna, a veteran pollster who founded the Barna Group, is now the director of research at the Cultural Research Center, attributed to the lack of a unanimous belief in Christian views about sin, to the lack of the discussion about the topic in American churches. The job of the local church is to educate people about God's ways. He said, yet a 2019 Pew Research study that analyzed sermon content across the nation determined that just 3% of all sermons preached even mentioned sin. That's a devastating body blow to the Christian world. It says students will remain ignorant when their teachers fail to inform them of critical information and consequences. However, it says for a overwhelming majority of Christian churches to suppress the reality of sin, its consequence, in its solution from the people those churches serve is a travesty. You see, they're not even teaching them in the way of righteousness. So this is what it is, man. You know what? Fuck it. Someone send this in the group, man. This is what it is. You people don't know what the word of the Lord is, and the statistics is starting to show. And you don't even got to go into the statistics to show it. You can look at you people's actions. Right? You shall know a tree by its fruit. You don't know the world. The world by wisdom knew not the Most High. And that's what this lesson is going to be titled. This is Ephesians 6. And 22. Is that one on it? 22, yeah. Ephesians 6 and 22, it says, whom I have sent unto you for the same purpose, that they might know our... No, that's not... Am I reading that wrong? Ecclesiasticus. That's what it was. 6 and 22. There might be more on it, so I want to go to it. Ecclesiasticus 6 and 22, it says, for wisdom is according to her name, and she is not manifested unto many. And that's what bros got to understand. That this truth, the way to actually serve the Lord, that's not manifested unto many. So what we have is very precious. Right? The understanding to serve the Lord. It says the beginning of here it is, Psalms 111 and 10. It says, you know what? I started Proverbs 1 and 7. It says, you know what? I got to get both. Fuck it. Psalms 111 and 10. It says, the fear of Yahweh is the beginning of wisdom. The fear of the Lord. And what does that mean? Because you understand the judgment of the Lord. All right. So if you fear somebody, it's because they can do something. So you don't do things that that person does not like, just like your father. You fear your father, so you don't do things that he don't like because you can get a whooping. But it's the same thing with the Lord. And the Christian churches don't teach you the consequences, so people think they're okay to do these things. It says the fear of Yahweh is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all they that do his commandments. His praise endure forever. Right? So a good understanding to have those that do his commandments. Right? Without you actually fulfilling the word of the Lord in everything that you can actually do it in, right? Because there's certain laws that we can't keep. We don't own fabric mills. We don't own because the scriptures talk about, mixed fabrics, right? We don't own, right, the monetary system. We don't own a military. We don't own land. We don't own livestock and farm equipment. We don't own that stuff. So we can't keep, the Feast of First Fruits. We can't bring a lamb into our house before the Passover to do these things. Because that's how the real Passover is supposed to be held. You're supposed to bring the lamb into your house for a certain amount of time of the first year. You don't have that ability here, right? We cannot go out and just start, unaliving the Libicuita community, the rainbow people. We can't do that because that's in the law, but we can't do it. We're not sovereign to be able to do that. Right? But there's certainly things that you can do, and there's certain things that you can stop doing. Right? Now it says Proverbs 1:7, it says, the fear of Yahweh is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. And the law is wisdom and destruction, and instruction, Salakia. The law is wisdom and instruction. You see? Now, this is 1 Corinthians 2. 1 Corinthians 2. Is it 14 I want? Yeah, 14. It says, but the natural man receiving not the things of the Spirit. And that's what you're seeing in this study. Right? They're seeing that these people are just natural men because they can't receive the instruction from the Lord. That's the thing from the Spirit. The scriptures tell you, John 6 and 63. Let me get it real quick. I'm actually getting in this other sword. John 6 and 63. And this is the red letter. This is Yahweh Shai speaking. We know that Yahweh Shai also said, seek ye out of the book of the Lord, for it is written of me. So now verse 63 in John 6 and 63 says what? It says, it is the Spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profit nothing. The words that I speak unto you, right? And what words was he speaking? He was going through all the scriptures and breaking it down, right? He was reaffirming everything written in the Old Testament because he's always said, is it not written? Did not the prophet say? Had not the Lord said? Right? The Lord was always talking like that. So he was always speaking the words that were already written. And he added his flavor on top of it about prophecies of the end. It says, it is the Spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profited nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are light. So that's the Spirit. The words of these scriptures. So when you go to 1 Corinthians 2 and 14, it says, but the natural man receiving not the things of the Spirit of the Most High. Right? And what is part of the Spirit of the Most High? Prophecy too. You can read that in the book of Revelation 19 and 10. The testimony of Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy. The natural man can't receive those things. Right? For they are foolishness unto him. And when you tell somebody eating pork, shrimp, crab, lobster, especially a Christian, somebody that believes they have some form of righteousness, but when you really go into it, they don't subscribe to the righteous words of the Lord, right? They look at you like what you're saying is foolish. And they tell you that when you tell a person that committing adultery isn't all right, that you shouldn't be going after somebody else's woman. When you tell somebody that a woman shouldn't be a man should not be trying to seek a man for sexual pleasure, that is foolishness unto them. Right? It says they are foolishness unto him, neither can he know them because they are spiritually discerned. You see? But he that is spiritual, basically he that really follows everything that the scriptures say to the best of their ability, because we're not going to be perfect. We're striving to be perfect. And perfection takes time, man. Right? But he that is spiritual judgeth all things. Yet he himself is judging no man. Because what? You're literally doing everything that other men won't do. Serving the Lord in truth. Right? This is 1 Timothy 1. This is that first 10. There it is. 1 and was it 9? Yeah, 1 Timothy 1 and 9. I started 8. It says, but we know that the law is good if a man use it lawfully. Because there's certain men that'll sit here and go to the law and use and abuse it. You have that nigga Alizar sat there at one point, somebody told him something about something he was doing wrong. He said, and I'm a priest, so you can't tell me what to do. You listen. Nah, man. And then look where he at. He got, he was doing the shit with the peg with his wife and all that wickedness, man. So look how that goes. He didn't use the law lawfully. It says, knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man, right? And when you really understand it, when you really understand your ways, the scriptures say all your righteousness is as filthy rags. So if your righteousness is as filthy rags, and the scriptures say man at his best is altogether vanity, you understand that this scripture proves why you under the law. It says, knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man, right? But for the lawless and disobedient. And we've all been disobedient to the law of the Lord, right? But there's men that live in that, and there's men that strive to live unto righteousness and follow what the Lord said. And that makes the difference between a sinner and somebody that sins, right? But for the law, it says, but for the lawless and the disobedient, for the ungodly and for the sinners, for unholy and profane, for murderers of fathers and murderers of mothers, for manslayers, for whoremongers, for them that defile themselves with mankind, homosexuals, right? For men stealers, right? People that human traffic, put people into slavery, for liars, for purged persons, right? And if there be any other thing that is contrary to sound doctrine. So the law was made to those that don't follow sound doctrine too, right? To keep you in line. So for somebody to act like they don't sin, they're beyond reproof in their own selves. The scriptures talk about those that said they're holier than thou are smoking the Lord's nose, right? These people don't want to know the Lord, and when it comes time, if things start getting hot and heavy, they don't throw it all away. The little bit that they thought they had. This is Ezekiel 44 and 23. It says, but they, you know what? I'll start at 23. It says, and they shall teach my people the difference between the holy and profane. And we read in the article that the dude said what? Where is it at? Where's that section I read? Look, students will remain ignorant when their teachers fail to inform them of critical information and consequences, right? And that's what you're seeing. The Christian church has not taught you of the Lord. The Israelites did, though. It says, and they shall teach my people the difference between the holy and profane, and cause them to discern between the unclean and the clean. You see, that's what the real teachers of the Lord were supposed to be doing. The scriptures tell you the Lord will give you teachers that shall feed you with knowledge and wisdom. That didn't come through the Christian church. You see that they're deficient when it comes to understanding the scriptures. Isaiah 29 and 13 says, wherefore Yahweh said, for as much as this people draw near me with their mouth and with their lips do honor me, but have removed their heart far from me, and their fear toward me is taught by the precepts of men. And that's what you saw. Because if the Christian church isn't teaching you how to follow the Lord, what are they teaching you? They're teaching you disobedience. And Jake has refused the actual words in the scriptures for a message that the precepts of men are speaking rather than what the Lord actually wrote down for us and had other men through the Spirit as they were inspired to write down for us. So this is what it is. This is what you're seeing. This is what the world is seeing. And it's beautiful, man. That now you got Christians admitting that they're deficient. But you know who they can't say is deficient? The Israelites. Because we know it all through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. But Lord willing, this is edifying them. Say call law Yahweh Shem Yahushai by Shem Shalom.